My name is Michael Yost. I'm in Local 401. I am also on the Constitution and Rules Committee. I will be facilitating today's forum with a lot of help from Suzanne, who is our Director of Operations at MAPE. In just a few moments, we'll jump into the resolutions. One big perk of being in a union is that it's a democracy. We govern ourselves, so we get to have a voice in our processes. So resolutions are kind of at the heart of that delegate assembly process. It's designed to make our union stronger, more effective. So I want to thank all of the members who have submitted resolutions. Next slide. Oh, nope, it's the last slide. I was ahead of myself. The Constitution and Rules Committee was on the previous slide. I'm a member of that. I want to thank my fellow members of the Constitution and Rules Committee for their time and effort reviewing and providing suggestions for everyone who submitted a resolution. Next slide. Before we jump into the forum, we have a couple housekeeping items. First, as I mentioned, we're recording, so our recording will be posted later this week on the MAPE webpage. You can go to mape.org and click on the Delegate Assembly Forums on the home page slider. We will also put the link, I hope someone will, for the resolution tracking document in the chat. Let me see if I can do that real quick. Maybe. And someone Ronald beat me to it. Ronald's here. Okay.
Ronald,
yeah, so that list.
You have to send it to the other group, which is the Everyone group. You're sending that to the host and the panelists right now.
Oh, my bad.
Sorry.
I'm not.
Okay. I just put it in the chat, so I think we're good. Yeah, that spreadsheet lists all the resolutions. You can see the status of them, what the recommendations, what committees they've been in. In column G, there will be a Word document linked that will let you look at the resolution directly. Contact information is also directly available on the resolution document. There won't be time for questions due to the number of resolutions we're reviewing. If you do have questions, reach out to the author directly. And they will take your feedback on board. Next slide. A couple of quick reminders about some upcoming events, especially if you've been elected or appointed as a delegate or alternate for Delegate Assembly. So we have a few reminders. Make sure you're registered, first of all, for Delegate Assembly. That's on the MAPE website. You also log into the portal. All delegates and alternates need to RSVP to confirm your attendance. If you can't attend, please email mapehq@mape.org. Make sure you have all the forums added to the calendars. The second resolution will cover 7 additional resolutions. We have 14 altogether. The second resolution forum is not a repeat of today. Each has distinct content. It's important for delegates to attend each of the forums, including the budget forums, so you're fully prepared for all the votes that we're going to have at Delegate Assembly. All members, even non-delegates, non-alternates, are invited to the forum and can discuss items up for votes with delegates representing their local. A list of delegates is available on the Delegate Assembly webpage. I will not put it in the chat because I am doing too many things. Next slide. What is a resolution? A resolution is a formal request to change the Constitution, election rule, policy, or bylaw. So any person, any member in MAPE can submit a resolution, and it will be considered by Delegate Assembly. We vote on it there, where there's a whole process, and it's the building blocks of democracy in our union. Next slide, please. You may hear some people refer to resolutions as proposals or as resolutions. Today in particular, we're focusing on resolutions. These are changes to bylaws and election rules and constitutions and the Constitution. These are things that have to be considered at Delegate Assembly. Proposals are more policy-based. Those can be immediately adopted by the board of directors, but if an author wishes to have it considered at Delegate Assembly, that can also be heard there. So let's jump in. So we have 7 resolutions today. We'll hear 7 of the 14. I will introduce the title of the resolution, and the author can unmute themselves and present. So first up, we have the statewide membership secretary resolution presented by Local 901 Membership Secretary Meredith Richmond. Meredith, can you please go ahead and unmute yourself and tell us about the resolution? And
yes.
I'm starting the timer now for 7 minutes.
So am I. So my resolution is titled Establishing a Statewide Membership Secretary, a Statewide Membership Committee, and a Statewide Membership Committee Vice Chair. So this resolution makes 3 things: 2 positions and a committee. I'm going to walk through each of these things that this resolution proposes to create. This resolution, firstly, would create a statewide membership secretary. Logistically, this role would be part of the statewide executive committee and the board of directors. This role would also be elected by statewide membership and would chair the membership committee, which is also proposed to be established by this resolution. The minimum experience for a statewide membership secretary would be 2 continuous years in a named member leader position that is tracked by our union database and doing work where they receive the biweekly emails with new hire information on them and reached out to those new hires. In terms of duties for the statewide membership secretary, there are 3 main duties. The first and most important duty would be to advocate for and prioritize recruitment in statewide leadership decisions and resource allocation. The real intent behind having a statewide membership secretary is to have somebody bring the perspective really focusing on membership and membership recruitment into every single discussion and decision that these various statewide leadership groups make. We currently have 1 statewide position dedicated to our money as our treasurer. We have 1 statewide position dedicated that mainly supports our vice presidents. Our stewards is through the vice president, but we would not have money or members who we could recruit to be stewards if we don't first fundamentally have members in our union. The second duty would be to plan and track membership recruitment work. This includes writing an annual membership recruitment strategy describing what we will do in the next year, and then a report on membership describing what we have done in the past year. And lastly, the statewide membership secretary would be in charge of ensuring MAPE is exercising our statutory right to have a MAPE representative meet with all new hires for 30 minutes within 30 days of date of hire. This is a statutory right our union gained in 2023, so it's pretty recent and we want to take advantage of it. Next, this resolution would create a membership committee. This would be a standing committee comprised of local membership secretaries and member allies. The purpose of the membership committee would be to support and coordinate membership recruitment activities across the state. It would also be to facilitate learning from other membership secretaries and creating a space for us to share ideas, problems, and solutions. The membership committee would also review and provide feedback on the membership committee budget, the annual membership recruitment strategy, so again, what we're going to do in the next 12 months, the annual report on membership, so what we have done in the last 12 months. And then this membership committee would also be in charge of creating, maintaining, and publishing the criteria for approving recruitment activity funds. The last thing that this resolution creates is a vice chair of the membership committee. This would be a local membership secretary elected by other local membership secretaries. The duties of this vice chair would be to regularly meet with 4 to 6 prioritized locals to improve their membership recruitment work. Part of the document, that would be our strategy for the next 12 months. Part of that would be identifying 4 to 6 locals that want more help with their membership recruitment and membership recruitment systems. And the vice chair would be in charge of working with, connecting with, talking to these locals to help them improve their membership recruitment. The vice chair would also be in charge of training all the new membership secretaries and MAPE representatives at these new employee orientations. And lastly, maintain and share a library of resources for membership secretaries and MAPE representatives who attend these new employee orientations. Why? What's the why behind this? Because our current membership recruitment system is not working as well as we want it to. Half of locals are not reaching out to all new hires within 30 days. Half of locals are not doing outreach to non-new hires, so folks who are past their first 6 weeks at the state. And this is based off of surveys we've done the last 2 years within the membership secretaries. Our membership rate has been declining. It was 65% at the beginning of this year. Now it's about 63%. And while the organizing council currently, they're the group that has responsibility for recruitment, lack of resources combined with a broad range of other responsibilities has caused essential recruitment work to be deprioritized over very worthwhile other organizing activities, especially over the last couple of years. Creating a position dedicated to recruitment work ensures that critical recruitment work is done. So our only priority is recruitment. There's not another priority that could take over. With that, I'm going to leave it there. I'm very, very, very happy to talk with anyone about this resolution. I really want to have as many conversations as possible. That's why I emailed potential delegates earlier this year and tried to facilitate conversations with folks so they had a chance to ask questions about the resolution. If people are contacting me via email, please remember my name is spelled MERIDITH. Microsoft Word, Microsoft Office, and any spell checker autocorrects it to the wrong thing. So it's MER igloo dog igloo TH. And that's my time.
Great. Thank you, Meredith. With 38 seconds to spare, I believe next up we have Ronald, my fellow Constitution and Rules member and member of Local 401. Ronald, are you here with us?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
All right. Yep. Take it away, Ronald.
Right. Excellent. Thank you, Michael. It's appreciated. Great. Well, the resolution here is simply called Technical 2026 Technical Fixes. So I provide a little bit of an overview. Anyone who has looked at our governing documents and policies would know that, even just kind of a cursory look at them, you'll see various things that, are fairly outdated, references to items that no longer exist or have been renamed, or like committees that no longer exist, or policies which are defunct, or, various items which, need updating to both, reflect what our union is currently doing, what our current policies and current expectations are, but also to reflect, societal changes as well, so this resolution, essentially at the end of the day, as kind of through my work on the Constitution Rules Committee, what I basically did is I went through all of our governing documents, all of our policies, read everything cover to cover, and went through and identified things that need to be updated. They include kind of small nitpicky things, even like adding like Oxford commas, for example, to things that need to be updated to reflect changes in related policies, such as replacing, chief steward with steward director, because, steward director is usually called chief steward, but that was changed several years ago, so on and so forth. And the resolution has, listed various examples of those changes, which is a list that's not completely inclusive. And then below that bullet point list, there is a hyperlink to kind of a master document, including which has basically in copy and paste of all of our governing documents and policies, and then track changes of all of those proposed fixes. Obviously, it would have, if putting that in that table, the before and after table, which is usually found in a resolution, that would have been hundreds and hundreds of pages. So that was not particularly feasible. So essentially, the purpose of this resolution is to provide purely technical fixes and adjustments to our governing documents and policies, to correct issues that need correcting based on a combination of outdated items, grammatical issues, as well as, to reflect current policies and expectations. So there's nothing in here that actually makes like substantive changes. It's just items that, are purely technical in nature. And the only reason why this is a resolution and not a proposal to the board of directors is because this does adjust the Constitution and the election rules, both of which can only be adjusted by Delegate Assembly and not the board of directors. So with that, I will end it right there.
Great, way ahead of schedule, with 3 minutes and 50 seconds remaining. So I may be putting Michael Dietrich on the spot here. Are you ready to go, Michael?
Yep.
All right, I'm going to hand it over to you. Michael will be presenting the restructure resolution.
Thank you. Are you okay if I screen share from here?
Sure, if you're able to. We were troubleshooting a little bit. So we'll see if it works. No? Oh, Suzanne was shaking her head, but okay.
All right.
We're good to go. All right.
Suzanne? Okay.
Yeah, I think you're good to go.
Okay.
Your time has started.
Sounds good. So I'm Michael Dietrich from Local 1002. This is the resolution calling for a restructure of MAPE with a lot of different moving pieces to that. So I'll start off with just a quick why. The intended purpose of this, going back several years since this project started, is to build on what is currently working without being held back by decisions that were made 45 years ago or that are currently being made by our employer who is intent on dividing us. Right now our structure is tied to management's real estate decisions. Where are their offices? Which offices are different people assigned to? And that undercuts our ability to build and wield power to meet worker needs. Many of the core union functions could be easier to perform than they are within our current structure. So that we can focus with energy and urgency on our goals as we think about trying to build power to win more at the bargaining table and beyond the bargaining table. And so we do think that we are leaving power on the table with some aspects of our current structure. Our 5-year strategic plan did call for a restructure because we realized that although our power comes from people, resources, and ideas, they need to be effectively coordinated in pursuit of common goals. And as we think about how we can be clear-eyed about how to take on our unelected bosses at work, as well as our elected bosses that fund our jobs, our wages, our health care, we need to have a structure that reflects that. Otherwise, we run the risk of inaction and falling into hopelessness. So we have a couple of unique facets to what we are asking for with Delegate Assembly with the restructure resolution this year. The first is that we are requesting a reconvening of Delegate Assembly to discuss and vote on this resolution. There are a lot of moving parts to this. This is a very large proposal. We do want there to be time for delegates to go back to their locals, get input, have discussion, and bring amendments. And there is enough moving pieces to this that we suspect we could field a fairly significant number of amendments that we want to have time to hear. We want to have time for folks to get their heads around what is being proposed, and for us to really help folks work through that with their locals, with their members to kind of build that out. So in addition to our resolution itself, there is going to be a motion asking the delegates to vote on whether or not to reconvene. We are currently proposing that that happen on Saturday, January 23rd. This will be an online only reconvening, so there wouldn't be any travel needs, nor would there be hotel or travel costs. We're asking for it to happen on Saturday to minimize lost time costs for the unions. We're trying to keep that actual monetary burden fairly low, but give ourselves more of that time to do that. This is a proper thing to do. Delegate Assembly can pick when it wants to meet, and so we are asking for that vote to reconvene. If that reconvening is approved at DA in September, that'll give us more time to discuss, to develop proposed changes, and then a chance to vote on those. The other unique procedural thing about what we're doing here is that our resolution is asking the delegates to refer the entire restructure package with whatever amendments we make to it collectively as DA to the membership for a vote. So we are asking that delegates refer that restructure to the full membership. If that is done, then it will require a 2/3 vote of the members to pass. So of those who are voting, we will need 2/3 of those voting to pass this, because we are making changes to the Constitution with this proposal. That would be included in the next scheduled voting opportunity. So if in Delegate Assembly in September we vote to send it to the membership, they would then vote in December of this year. If we meet in January and approve it at that point, members would vote in spring of 27. If DA votes down the resolution, then there is no member vote, and it's done. So for those who are more visual folks, vote 1, DA in September. Do we reconvene online in January? If yes, in January, we then vote on the restructure resolution. If no, it'll still be September. We will still vote on the restructure resolution at DA in September. If the resolution itself is passed, then we go to a membership vote. And at that point, the members decide, are we approving the restructure, yes or no? If DA does not pass the restructure resolution, it's done. We wind things down there. And again, if it goes to the membership, we need a 2/3 vote to pass. So of those members who vote on this, we would need 2/3 of them to vote yay for the restructure itself to happen. If all of that works and the restructure is approved, again, whatever amended form we come up with together as delegates, then in fall of 29 is when we would hold new officer elections with the new officers seated and all of the restructure changes effective in January of 2030. So giving ourselves some transition time to work on getting all of the changes made, both to governing documents and to logistical tools. Okay, with that amount of prelude, overview the substance, and then we will be in touch with folks to be able to talk about this in more detail, because again, there are a lot of moving parts to this. First, high-level units and officers. Under the restructure proposal, each member would be in a region and a local based on where they live. So we would retain having geographic regions and locals, but instead of being based on our current offices, they would be based instead on where we live. This is in part because we currently group ourselves together to select agency representatives and once a year for a day at the Capitol, but we haven't really effectively realized the natural grassroots networks of our coworkers or neighbors at a large scale. In addition to the region and local piece, each member will be in a cohort and a chapter based on the agency, board, etc., where they work. So meet and confer teams already work this way. A meet and confer team represents an entire agency, even if it's spread across multiple work sites, multiple offices. So we've been moving some additional functions to that agency level and then doing some clustering of agencies together to pool some functions like steward work. We would still maintain all the current core union functions around membership, steward work, negotiations, etc. All of that stays as it is. And we add some new officer functions focused on building power to help us win more at and beyond the bargaining table. So again, at that worker level, each worker is both in a region and local, and they're in a cohort and a chapter. You can think of a cohort as kind of equivalent to a region. It's a group of chapters, where the region would be a group of locals. We believe this would strengthen membership. We'd have local and chapter membership chairs, so at both the geographic and agency level, we'd be leading teams of members and reaching out to new workers, organizing member engagement activities. We would be building power with some of these new and modified roles, so we'd be adding solidarity and policy chairs. Solidarity chairs focused on other groups, other unions, creating and maintaining coalitions. Policy chairs focused on policy level work, because that is an area where we have a lot of expertise and soft power that we're not tapping. And then civic engagement chairs would modify the civic engagement officer structure we have right now, institutionalize it, but it would shift it to be based on where people live. That was one of the pieces of friction we found with the CBOs this last time. And we think that doing things like streamlining stewards with meet and confer teams in the same units would increase efficiency of the work that we're doing. More of the officer roles would become chairs. Am I at time?
You are at time.
All right, so then I'm going to put up content information. And
I'm willing to give him 2 minutes of my time if he needs it to finish up.
We do have a little bit of extra time from Ronald. So I'll put 2 minutes back on the board if you want to do a couple more slides with Michael.
And thank you, John, as well. So, just wanted to note, we'd be shifting more of the officer roles to be chairs, so there'd be more opportunities for folks to volunteer for teams without having to run for an officer role. And hopefully that would make the officer roles themselves more sustainable, make it easier for folks to figure out what type of officer they might want to be down the road, and increase our total pool of potential officers to help address one of the things we're seeing right now, where we have a lot of folks wearing a lot of hats. So we want to make it easier for folks to get involved. At the statewide level, we would have Delegate Assembly meet twice a year by default, once for delegates to get a sense for what the role is, have strategic conversations, And then once again, in person for voting on resolutions like we do right now. The board of directors would be the same size, but it would have representation from both the regions and the cohorts. We would increase the number of councils and specialize them to help make their work easier to see and to do. And I'm going to just wrap it there, again, with contact information for myself and my co-author, Nate Kjellmeyer. You can reach out to us. I'll drop that into the chat as well for those interested. We'll be putting together some info sessions and happy to schedule time with folks to talk about this in more detail because, again, there's a lot here. And again, appreciate the flexibility with the timing from everybody.
All right. Michael, let me know if you're not able to drop, I think you have to select everyone to receive contact info in the chat. So if you're not able to do that, let me know and I'll try to drop it in the chat during the next presentation. Speaking of the next presentation, I believe that is John's. John Ferrara, my fellow member of the Constitution and Rule Committee. This resolution would address executive committee vacancies and succession. So, John, go ahead and unmute yourself and walk us through it.
Thanks. Name's John Ferrara, pronouns are he, him. I'm from Local 2001. This resolution came out of the transition we had earlier this year when President Dayton left. And her successor, Angie Halseth, came to me and asked me to start pursuing this, and we just, as an organization, had not defined well various scenarios related to members of the executive committee and vacancies and openings and providing coverage. And it was having a real negative impact on members of that committee. The current structure can put people into positions that have different requirements and different skill sets than the ones that they ran for, and we're just not giving our officers a chance to be successful and thrive under the current structure. So what this resolution does is, hold on, let me see. I don't have a lot of slides because it's pretty straightforward. It defines what is just a temporary absence versus what's or an extended absence or a permanent vacancy. So, for example, the difference between, there are certain executive committee operations that have to happen. For example, approving lost time and signing off on purchases, things like that. So there are things that need to happen. So if you go on vacation or go on medical leave, it defines who's taking care of that kind of thing. It defines what happens if we have an extended leave. What if someone's on administrative leave for, say, I don't know, 7 or 8 months? This helps us figure out how do we bring a replacement into that role in a way that doesn't just create more burden for those people. And it ensures that there's not doubling up of roles. So it eliminates when a vacancy or there is a long-term absence does occur in like the secretary or treasurer positions, those don't collapse on to being one person's responsibility. It provides a mechanism for the board to appoint a temporary replacement. It provides a mechanism for locals to backfill their own officer positions in case one of their local or regional officers is pulled into that role at the executive committee. And it defines what happens and eligibility requirements at the executive level for when a special election does occur. So one of the most requested elements for this was that members who were in the temporary role would not be eligible for to run for that position in the next special election, as people felt that would give an unfair advantage in that election to the other people who were interested in that role. Yeah, so it's a pretty, it's basically resolving a lot of ambiguities and providing a clear process so that we can maintain continuity without overloading people and putting them into situations that are difficult for them. I'm going to put my email in the chat, so people have questions, they can reach out to me.
All right. Thanks, John.
That's about all I got on that.
Okay. Thank you very much, John. I believe the next resolution will be back to Ronald for his second resolution, resolution reform.
All right. So this is the resolution, also known as the resolution reform resolution. Something that we've been, at the, on the Constitution Rules Committee that we've kind of experienced as we've been reviewing, many resolutions the past couple of years here, and of course, even before my time on the committee, is that the current bylaws and policies with respect to resolutions, with respect to the Constitution Rules Committee's role and purview over said resolutions is semi-vague in some areas and really needs to be tightened up. Things need to be clarified, duplicative language needs to be or should be resolved, and expectations should be clearly laid out. And this resolution, hopes to achieve just that. So among many other things, excuse me, of course you can look at the text of the resolution yourself to kind of see the full scope of it. But essentially what this resolution seeks to do is, first of all, remove ambiguity and the appearance of kind of arbitrariness, as it were, by making kind of things more clear. For example, like what the CNR uses as the standard for when a resolution is deemed not ready for debate, for example. Additionally, some language would be added to our governing documents to provide sort of a formal role for the CNR, providing kind of analysis and information and feedback for resolutions to both the board of directors as well as Delegate Assembly. It would also allow the CNR to grow more than just 5 members. The current policies, or the current bylaws, I should say, prevent the CNR from being beyond 5 members, but this would allow, no more than 7 members, especially because our workload is greatly expanded, and the more folks on the committee to review and provide analysis of these resolutions would be super amazing. For those of you who reached out to me for like my own personal feedback before it was officially submitted to the CNR, only to receive additional feedback from the CNR, that's because I'm only one person, right? There are a lot of excellent diverse views and perspectives and things that are caught by many of the members of the CNR that only one person can't do. So that would definitely be beneficial as well. Also kind of the formalization of processes that currently happen, like for example, the CNR, kind of selecting kind of amongst their own ranks, like our own chair and vice chair, for example, and whatnot. And then one other really big one too is removing language that explicitly requires the legislative kind of like the resulting language in the current template, just to give a little more flexibility for the CNR to allow an alternative template for accessibility purposes. Because while we have made great strides to improving the template for resolutions, the current template does leave some accessibility issues, which we want to improve upon. It would also basically do away with the distinction between proposals and resolutions and just call everything resolutions. You can have resolution to the board, resolution to Delegate Assembly, and because there have been a lot of questions and a lot of confusion kind of regarding the distinction between those two. And then finally, there's a couple other different things I can get into, but I guess one final one I want to talk about is removing the requirement that there be and maintained a book of resolutions by the statewide secretary of record of all resolutions. That book, you know, is not like in a accessible and complete format, and hasn't really fully existed in like a full form to the best of my knowledge. So that instead, resolutions, the text of resolutions would just be in the meeting minutes of the relevant board meetings and delegate assembly meeting minutes. I believe there's a couple other kind of small things here and there which I could touch on, but for the sake of time, I would encourage you all to take a look at the resolution. And if you have any questions or concerns, I will put my email in the chat. But I do think that this resolution would help to improve the process, make the experience of submitting and writing and developing and getting feedback on resolutions a bit more clear and less ambiguous, and ultimately help to improve the avenue for which, you know, many of us want to improve our union, which is through the form of implementing and pushing through resolutions. So yeah, so if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I'd be more than happy to chat about this one. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Ronald. We now welcome Local 1902 President Chandra Peterson to present her resolution on personal statements. Chandra, are you with us?
I am here.
Ready to go?
Perfect. Yep.
All right, take it away.
Thank you. Chandra here. So my resolution is related to personal statements. It would make a change to our election rules. Basically, the resolution states that individuals who are running for office, and if they win that office, even in an uncontested race, that there would need to be a personal statement written and submitted to the Elections Committee to be posted. A little bit of background about why I wrote this resolution was kind of related to personal experience and experiences that I had seen in other locals and across the state. I came into my position as the president of 1902 in an uncontested race. And even though we had been talking about it at the local level, the first day that I got up and said, try to start a meeting, it was not very well received because people had no idea who I was and what I was doing there and why I was standing in front of them, suddenly being their president. And I had written a personal statement, but of course, being that it wasn't a contested race, it wasn't required to be published anywhere. And so there wasn't a lot of transparency available to my members to know who was running for office, and even that they ran for office, who they were when they won that race uncontested. So I think that happens in a lot of our local and committee races and in different statewide positions, that people are not aware of who is running or who the people are who get put in, just kind of by default because the race was uncontested. So having personal statements required or very strongly suggested for positions, even uncontested ones, would kind of help to have that information available to locals and anybody who's interested to see who's winning those uncontested races and kind of what their background is and where they are coming from. And it's kind of short and sweet, so I don't really have too much more to add to that, so I will yield the rest of my time.
Great, we're flying through. I believe our next presenter is Brian, and tell me if I'm pronouncing this wrong, Hamps, who's on the Elections Committee. And Brian, are you with us? And are you ready to go?
I am. We are way ahead of time. I didn't realize we were quite that far. Hello, everyone. I am walking you through the statewide Elections Committee resolutions for the 2026 Delegate Assembly. Everyone can hear me, correct? All right. Our main goal today is to give a clear section-by-section understanding of what this resolution changes, why we're proposing it, and how this directly benefits our union. To tee this up, this resolution addresses three core pillars: campaign conduct and neutrality boundaries, timetable and operational optimization, and enabling policy authority for the Elections Committee. Let's walk through this. If you're able to post my resolution, perfect, great. The first part of this is MAPE election rules, Article 4. We added a definition for local sponsorship. Right now, members can get confused when local platforms host candidate discussions. This change clearly states that if an event uses official MAPE channels like listservs, at MAPE.org emails, or union facilities, it is considered local sponsored. Under our neutrality pillar, this means all certified candidates in that specific race must be invited and given equal access to participate. Second, under Article 5 on the campaign conduct, we introduce a leadership disclaimer requirement. This is kind of tied back to the first one as well. When union officers use their personal social media or attend events in a personal capacity, members often assume that it's an official union endorsement. This addition requires any elected or appointed leader to include a simple disclaimer distinguishing their personal advocacy from an official MAPE endorsement. This just reinforces our neutrality pillar without restricting a member's personal rights. The next, also in Article 5, we integrate an explicit requirement for candidates to comply with board-approved campaign policies. Right now we have one such policy that is the social media policy. This ties directly to our enabling policy authority pillar by ensuring that administrative guidelines published by the committee are universally binding and enforceable across all campaigns. Fourth, turning Article 3, Section 9, we update personal statement rules. This is actually fairly similar to what we just heard for the other one, so we may want to get together and talk about this. Currently, statements are only required for contested races. We are standardizing this so all nominated candidates must submit a personal statement within 14 days after nominations close to be certified. This fits our operational pillar by creating a uniform qualification standard for everyone seeking access to the ballot. Fifth, in Appendix A, the election timetable, we separate personal statement submission deadline from the public web posting date by an administrative buffer of 5 business days. Historically, staff in the committee have faced an extreme bottleneck receiving and auditing hundreds of statements on a single day. This 5-day window allows a thorough compliance reviews before the public posting without pushing back the open of electronic balloting. Finally, we reached the bylaws amendment that we have in Article 4, Section 3. This section explicitly clarifies the statewide election committee's authority to draft supplemental operating procedures, toolkits, administrative frameworks, such as the aforementioned social media rules, or additional campaign finance disclosures subject to final board of directors approval. I want to highlight that the critical boundary built in this section, these secondary policies are strictly administrative. They cannot amend, conflict with, or supersede the core election rules set by Delegate Assembly. To give a practical example from my 12 years of professional experience as a campaign finance professional, during the last election, we had questions regarding financial reports from non-winning candidates. Under this updated bylaw structure, the state election committee could draft a clear secondary disclosure policy, donor expense itemization, a post-campaign account termination report, giving candidates clear rules while leaving the core election law with the DA. In summary, each section of this resolution works together to make our elections fairer, our administration smoother, and our governance boundaries crystal clear. thank you for your time. Happy to take any questions. I've got a MAPE email address, but I'm not sure exactly what it is. So if anyone knows it, feel free to post it in there.
It should be your first initial and last name.
All right.
At MAPE.org. All right, it's in the chat.
There we go. Perfect. Thanks.
Thank you, Brian. Kind of wrapping up here, I want to thank everyone for attending. This is the core of the democratic work in our union, so I'm glad everyone participated. And if you have any questions, please forward those on to the authors. I've provided a number of links in the chat, but for future reference on the recording, you can find all of these materials on the Delegate Assembly website on MAPE.org. As we mentioned at the beginning, a recording will be available on that website. The resolutions are on there. All of the delegates are on there. If you're not a delegate and you want to reach out to yours because you have a strong opinion about one of the resolutions and you're like, hey, you should vote for this one or vote against this one, you can contact your delegates that way. Otherwise, I just want to thank everyone for taking time to hear your fellow members' ideas and helping make our union stronger. And thanks to the Constitution and Rules and all the members of the operations staff who have helped put us on this forum to get today. We look forward to seeing you at the next resolution forum. I believe I'm not going to say it because I'm not sure the exact date. I think it's August 12th, but I'm not positive. August 19th is the next resolution forum. So yeah, we have some upcoming forums for more resolutions for the budget. There's a parliamentary review. If we don't see you at one of those, we'll see you at Delegate Assembly or, out there in our union. Have a great evening, everyone.